Hello, everyone, and welcome to EVTN News. And I want to start out here quickly, but um, I will say that this week didn't seem like there were a lot of news stories that I was making a note of, but it just seems the stories just seem to come up very quickly. And I don't expect there to be a lot of stories for next week just because we will be in between Christmas and New Year's, but who knows? The news cycle could change very quickly. So, let me just check on one thing here, and then we can get started. So, I guess, um, okay. So let's jump right into it here. The first news story is Bishop Stowe and Bishop Gustavo both did a blessing for women acolytes. So, nearly 4 years since Pope Francis changed canon law to allow women to be installed as lectors and acolytes, some dioceses are now moving ahead with ceremonies to formally recognize women in these lay ministries that are considered instituted ministries in the new rite. Um, Bishop Stowe said, I waited long enough to get any direction from the USCCB. So Stowe installed the three women as acolytes during a mass on November 24th at his cathedral in Lexington, Kentucky, and following his homily, he imparted a blessing onto the acolytes who, I guess their job in the Novus Ordo Mass is to assist priests in distributing communion and preparing the altar during Mass. So um, it's essentially some kind of newly created thing for women to do at Mass. And on August 27th, Bishop Gustavo beat Stowe to the punch here. So he held a special mass on August 27th to install 5 women as so-called acolytes. The women had completed formation training through the Archdiocese's Lay Ministry Institute, and so it's Archbishop Gustavo Garcia Siller. He's from San Antonio. He said, your role is crucial in helping the community encounter Christ. Through your proclamation of the scriptures and your service at the altar, you will make the presence of Christ known, inviting the faithful to a deeper communion with Him. So basically, this is um, kind of a weird situation here because women can do all these things without a so-called ministry, but they're just inventing one so that they can sort of move forward into creating women deacons. So that's the goal here. But the I guess the key point here is that they move forward without any direction from the USCCB, which kind of probably just ignored this because I mean they Francis kind of created this new, he invented this new so-called ministry, but I don't. I think only the far left bishops are really inspired by that. Okay, so we're here to talk about Bishop Strickland's replacement, and it is Bishop John George Kelly, an auxiliary bishop of Dallas. He is so. So here's an interesting note. In 2008, Bishop Kevin Farrell, yes, that's the guy that the guy that you know, he appointed Kelly as vicar for clergy. Francis appointed Kelly as an auxiliary bishop of Dallas in December of 2015, and on February of 2016, Kelly was ordained as a bishop in Dallas by Bishop Kevin Farrell. Uh, so it appears that Kelly is part of the Farrell network, and as you know, Farrell is a very high-ranking cardinal in the Francis Church now. Farrell was very good friends with McCarrick for years, and so I don't want to say that Kelly is part of the McCarrick network, but he seems to have known Farrell very well, and time will tell what Kelly's opinion on the traditional mass is, and um, obviously we can't expect anyone to be as outspoken as Strickland on important issues, but time will tell. Now, I do want to confirm this because there was a rumor going around, not a rumor, but discussion going around that Kelly was a Biden bishop, and I'm just checking. Yes, so Bishop Kelly, the new bishop of Tyler, Texas, is a Biden bishop. So back whenever there was a discussion of denying communion to Biden, there were 68 bishops who signed a letter that said they would not support denying Biden communion, and Kelly was one of them. There's a list of bishops who are on the wrong side of most things, and Kelly was one of the signers of that. No one forced anyone to sign it except all of Supich's auxiliary signed it, so Supich may have signed it for them. That's certainly a possibility. But I think most everyone was able to think for themselves, and they did, and they made their decisions. And this is so. Anyway, he's a Biden bishop. That'll stick with him. So obviously, kind of at odds with the things that's. The Diocese of Tyler, Texas. I know a number of people moved there. It was kind of a weird. I don't know why. Don't know why they would have done that. But anyway, people moved there because they thought it was a good place to be. And when Strickland was bishop, yeah, but I kind of had to know that the time was coming. And lots of seminarians entered the seminary there, and I hope they're able to transfer somewhere where they can have a more supportive bishop. Of course, Novus seminaries around the United States, I don't know how good they are. It's hard to tell, but anyway. Okay, the next news story I have is that so Trump selected the president of Catholic Vote and co-founder of Catholic Vote, Brian Birch, to serve as the United States ambassador to the Holy See. This was announced on Friday, and Birch, was critical of Francis, and which was pointed out by many on the far left. So they were outraged by this. So it seems like it might be a good one. Now I think the Vatican has the final say in the ambassador. Like they can reject the ambassador, but it doesn't seem like they usually do. So he might be the ambassador. Now, Catholic Vote itself, I don't follow them, but I think I've heard people who do follow them, and it seems as though their news stories are many of the news stories that I share on this channel. So that's something to think about. Okay. And another one bites the dust. So American Magazine editor Matthew Malone, S.J., Jesuit, quit the priesthood. So Malone wants to be free to have a family. So with, follow on the heels of Dan Horan and I think it was the DJ priest overseas. I think they both recently quit the priesthood. And unfortunately, these are some people who should have never been ordained. But it's good to see them at least step away whenever they're going to be promoting heresy and It's. I mean, anyone who leaves the priesthood, I believe that's very concerning, and I would not encourage it. But if you're, if you're promoting and spouting the heresies that these guys did, then it's probably better for the church that they're gone. In a just, in just society, well, just I don't know if I want to say that, but in a Catholic church where the leaders are concerned about promoting accurately promoting the Catholic faith, sticking to the doctrines, these guys would have been excommunicated long ago or suspended at the very least. So by them voluntarily quitting, it'll save a good pope the trouble of getting rid of them. So that's good. Okay, now some of you are on Twitter, some of you are not. But those of you who are may have seen Archbishop Paul Coakley. I believe he's from Oklahoma City. He posted a tweet. It's kind of a lengthy tweet, basically in opposition to um, the execution, the capital punishment, death penalty execution of Kevin Underwood. So so Coakley posted this and said, "Oh, we have to oppose it and everything." And this tweet was just horribly unpopular. Like, it was so unpopular. He got one of the biggest ratios I've ever seen, which is like comments versus likes. And what did it say? A recent Gallup poll shows that support for a death penalty among Americans is at a 5-decade low. Now, this guy that he is lamenting his who was put to death, this guy killed a 10-year-old girl. He lured her into his apartment. I'm not even gonna read this because it's just so horrific of the crime. But anyway, he ended up killing her in a very disturbing way. He assaulted her, and uh, he was going through like a cannibalistic thing. He didn't complete it, but he abandoned his plans to eat her, which that's so disgusting. Like, how can you let this person, like, why why is it? I don't know. That's really terrible. Um, so yeah, and I think with with these bishops that are in opposition to capital punishment, I just think it's an insult to the Catholic faith. Like, these people belong to a different religion than I do. Um, it's I don't know if they're siding with the Francis Church by opposing capital punishment, because I don't know why they're doing it, but I do know that Francis is good friends with I don't even know. He's good friends with some molesters and rapists, and I think that their opposition to capital punishment is, I don't know, is it to defend Francis's friends? Um, I think that's an open question at this point, because the Catholic Church has never been against capital punishment. Now, I understand if people say, like, the system in the United States, they don't like the system in the United States, and it's fair to oppose. Like, I'd respect if if someone were to tell me I oppose it because of the system that we have in place in the United States. Um, that's fine. I think you can debate that, but if you use your Catholic faith to defend it, it's sort of like Catholics for choice almost. Okay, so the Vatican's LMNOP pilgrimage. Ooh, let me pull that back up. Sorry about that. So the Vatican, they reinstated the LMNOP pilgrimage for the Jubilee year on their website just this past week, because they had deleted it, and then the person was either uninformed or lied to the pillar about it never being on there, which it was, and now it's back up. So, and then the Vatican defended it. So Archbishop Reno Fisichella, he supports it. So he is the prefect for the Dicastery for Evangelization, and he's the delegate for the organization of the Holy Year 2025, so the Jubilee year. The group that organized the LMNOP pilgrimage is called Jonah's Tent. So their event was republished on the Vatican's website, and so Fisichella said, "We include in the calendar all those who ask us to have an experience of faith." Okay, this is really interesting. We only ask for a pilgrimage and a faith experience. If an association that carries out the pastoral care of LMNOPs wants to make this experience of faith a reality, I think they should also find the Jubilee prepared for them. So, what happens if a group of Latin Mass Catholics wants to have an experience of faith? If they want to make their experience of faith a reality, what is he going to tell them? Oh, you can't do it. You're too rigid. Well, what if a group of Anglicans wanted to have an experience of faith? Would they be allowed to? Oh, yeah, they'd be allowed to use the church, but not the Latin Mass. So, again, this is a millionth example of the double standard that the Vatican has for actual Catholics who support the Catholic faith, believe in the Catholic faith, and accept all the doctrines, as opposed to those who reject at least one of the doctrines, or in most cases, multiple doctrines. So it's just a real double standard, and it's really pathetic. But that's the Francis Church for you. So got a Biden bishop in at Strickland's old diocese, and things are moving on. Yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say other than Happy Advent. It's coming down to the wire here, coming down to the end. Tomorrow's Christmas Eve, and would like to wish everyone the best Christmas they can have, and hopefully you have a really enjoyable Christmas season. We got some good holy days coming up before we hit the winter, or before we hit the strongest part of the winter, and as things are looking up because the solstice has already passed, and it's only going to be lighter from here for the rest of the year. So that's nice, I guess. And that's it. So if there's any news stories, I'll plan to be back next week. I don't expect a lot of news stories. Oh, here's one thing. Check out Father Flager's church in Chicago, St. Sabina, Chicago. Are they going to have like a crazy a crazy mass this year again, like a crazy Christmas Eve celebration? He has a Kwanzaa mass, I think. I mean, you can't even make a parody. The parodies don't even match reality at this point for him. So anyway, all right, this has been EVTN News. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. We are the laity, and we will not be silent.